Today's guest has over 2,500 commercial real estate deals. That is not a typo. That's more transactions than I have had processed thoughts.
He holds both the CCIM and SIOR designations, which basically means if commercial real estate had a Navy SEAL program, he's graduated twice.
Oof! He's worked with everyone from Fortune 100s to family businesses, navigated markets hotter than Phoenix in July and colder than your ex's LinkedIn message. And he still finds time to make it to Disney World. And that's real. It's not like I'm not trying to humanize him. That's the one personal tidbit that he added to his CCIM bio.
Well, I've got some more personal tidbits to add to that here in a little.
Great.
He's been a chapter president, a market educator, and a mentor to countless brokers. And if you're trying to figure out how to win long-term in this business, this conversation will save you years.
So if you're a broker who's tired of winging it, a business owner staring down a sale, or you just love listening to someone who speaks fluent 10-year-old strategy with bonus depreciation, buckle up.
I'm Bo Barron, CCIM.
I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD.
And please welcome to the show, the closer, the coach.
The man who structured more deals than Cinderella has costume changes, Gary Martinez.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Guys, that was so amazing. I was just so entertained. I forgot it's my part to even say anything here, but thank you so much for having me on here. I've been a big fan of the show, and thank you so much. And,
Oh man, I've been wanting to get you on here for a while, but Timmy, I got to tell you something about this guy.
Oh, please.
So we didn't mention it in his intro, but he's also a CI 102 instructor like
right.
me. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten to teach together. And I've gotten to meet his family. And so we went to dinner one time. Man, where was it?
Benihana's.
Benny, thank you.
Oh,
great steak.
classic.
Oh, it was so good.
Classic.
So I went to Benihana's to eat and call him. And he's like, hey, you mentioned Benihana's, so I'm bringing my family. Well, I just finished. So I just hung out and had dinner twice. I don't think I had dinner the second time, but I joined them for dinner, met his kids, met his wife, but they're big WWE fans.
Oh, no way. No way.
Yeah. So like he's taking his boy to a show, and would y'all go to a Raw or what was it?
Well, we went to WrestleMania.
Oh,
We
yeah.
went, shortly after that. Yep.
Amazing. Yeah.
Really, he's got a cool family, but it's clear. Like, I like your style when it comes to building memories with your kids, like things they'll never forget. And that's just an example. Like, man, he'll never forget WrestleMania.
Yeah, no way.
I
No way.
remember the times when I was a kid, and I just spent the time with my father and the bonding during that time. So I'm just trying to recreate those memories with my kids as well. And you made a wonderful impression on my family as well. And my daughter actually had to pick a state to do a report on, and guess what state she picked?
Kentucky, baby.
Really?
Kentucky, that's right. Yes. She comes home. She goes, Daddy, I got to do a report on the state, and guess what state I picked? He goes, I had asked her, what, baby? What was that state? And she says, well, I was thinking about your friend Bo, and he's from Kentucky, so I picked Kentucky. And so she knows a lot about Kentucky now. So yeah,
That's
you did
amazing.
such a-
Bourbon, barbecue, and horses.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. Don't forget about Johnny Depp and
Johnny
George
Depp.
Clooney. Both are,
And Chris Stapleton,
and Chris Stapleton. That's right.
whom I'm going to go see.
Ooh.
That was my birthday present.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
Anyway.
When I was doing research as I was writing the intro, I saw on your CCIM profile that, it's like in a personal thing is I love Disney and I like taking my family to Disney trips. Right. And so I wore my Disney, my Mickey Mouse shirt.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. That was just
nice.
for you, Gary. Yeah. Just for
Very
you.
nice. Thank you,
Now,
Timmy.
Disneyland is what? It's not that far from you.
It's down the street, and sometimes I'm going home 9:30 at night. I see the fireworks going off. I can
Oh,
hear the
that's cool.
fireworks even from my house as well, and so I'm very close. So
Oh,
and-
that's
and,
nice.
Yeah, we're there quite often. Actually, we're going tomorrow, so we'll be there tomorrow.
Wow. Perfect. So it's not like when I think about it, it's like
Now, Disney to us was like a once a decade family vacation.
That's
kind of
right.
thing.
That's
it was a
right.
big ordeal. plane trips, hotel rooms, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. It's like just ever so often, but when it's in your backyard, that's got to
For
be
them,
amazing.
it's an Uber ride, man.
Right.
That's perfect.
There was a summer where I worked at Universal in Orlando, and yeah, we were able to pop over and go to Disney a lot. Well, let's start with like a little origin story, like a little 5-minute origin story of when your love for Disney first started, and some of your favorite Disney movies. Just like a 5-minute origin story of how you landed into the commercial real estate business and got to where you are now.
Yeah, well, just one note on Disney. And so I was very afraid of Disney when my kids were born because I know how expensive it is. And so I was trying to shelter the kids, as much from Disney as I can until one day I said, you know what, forget it. Let's see how it goes and let's try it out. And so, and we loved it. My family loved it. My wife, and we go quite often. And so actually, I think I enjoy it more than the family, honestly. But I started the business 25 years ago, thinking about it. And so I started off as an assistant on-site property manager for a multi-tenant industrial park, where I would go help collect rents. If someone's light bulb was out, help fix that or get someone to fix it. And anything from, changing the light bulb to a flood or fire, I was the guy that everyone called to make sure that everything was functioning properly. Also during that time, I was doing leasing for our industrial park. We had about 83 tenants there, and just did everything I can to make sure that the property was full. From there, I was doing, I guess, a good enough job where the company gave me a couple of more properties to manage as well. So then I started to manage and do some leasing for a multi-tenant office building, a self-storage, a retail center, a medical building.
Oh.
And what ended up happening is that one of the office buildings, after a couple of years of me managing and leasing the property owner purchased the property, sold it within 2 years. The guy made like $2 million, and boom, I never saw him again. And I was just like, wow, like, how did that guy make $2 million? And my mentor, or my boss, basically was telling us, well, Gary, it's all because of you. You kept occupancy up. You were able to increase income. You were able to keep expenses down, so you're able to increase NOI. He was able to sell it at a lower cap rate, and thus you got $2 million worth of value. I'm like, what? Did not understand anything that they said. I was about 22, 23 at this time, and I was just like, you know what? I don't know what you said, but I'm going to make it a point to understand all those concepts, and I want to be in that position one day. So I just submerged myself, never looked back.
What I heard was you did all the work, somebody else made $2 million.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then you were like,
You want to be the owner.
That's right. How do I make that money? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I started. That was my first 5 years. And from there, I was just said, hey, no more management. I went full on brokerage. Because when I was managing properties, I saw how much brokers were making and doing very little work was my perception at the time. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm the one who did all the work, and I'm the one who showed the property to all these tenants. And the broker just made this fat check, and then I never see the broker again. I'm like, well, hey, I want that guy's job.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, you know what? Let me go into the brokerage field and just focus 100% on brokerage. And so that's what I've been doing the past 20 years. And now that I'm a broker, it's not as easy as I believed it was during that time. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to make those deals happen. But essentially, that's how I started in the business, and that's my road to where I guess I'm at today.
Wow. Whenever you did start in brokerage, what was like the biggest thing where you're like, oh, wow. As far as like, oh, they don't do that much work, I want to do. What was like one of the things that stood out to you the most?
So when I first started, two things. One was when I was sitting as an on-site leasing agent or leasing agent for a property, everyone called me looking for properties or looking for units. you take away the properties, now you become a broker. No one's calling you anymore. You got to go out there and find your own business. And that was a big struggle and challenge for me to go ahead and make that change from everyone calling me. Now I got to go out there and actually do sales. And so what I started to do is I would go out there, drive my market, park, walk around a property, start assessing the property like I was and like as a property manager. Well, hey, what's the ceiling height? How many ground level doors are here? Are there fire sprinklers? What's the condition of the parking lot? And once I felt like I knew enough information about the property, then I would walk in. And so the very first door that I walked in, I was so proud of all the information that I had on their existing property. I went in and I asked to speak to the decision maker, and they're like, no, who are you again? I'm like, oh, my name is Gary Martinez. I'm a commercial real estate broker. In my mind, the greatest commercial real estate broker. And they're like, no, I'm sorry. You need an appointment to meet with the decision maker. I'm like, okay, how do I get an appointment? And he goes, she's like, you know what? Just go, just leave. And then basically she shooed me off. I went in my car. I sat there just thinking, man, like what a change in this business. And this is going to be a tough gig. And so what I did, I got back in my car, went back to my office, and just try to figure out what I need to do better. Then I just kind of got back out there and just continued to pound on doors and just get out there and just try to put myself out there as much as possible. So those are two of my things that come to mind in my beginning years as a broker.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it makes total sense. You're getting all these calls for people needing whatever it is, and then now all of a sudden you got to find those people.
Yeah,
it's a huge difference.
Oh, it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And what he's describing there is canvassing. I don't know that we've talked a lot about canvassing.
We did with
Beth Azor.
Yeah, that was a big canvas. That was a great episode
That's right.
of canvassing. But yeah.
The boots on the ground prospecting.
Mm-hmm. Boots.
It's the most effective and the most inefficient way to do it.
It's a good way to learn the market. And so what I learned during that time is really learn the market. You go there, be able to touch and feel and see, and you're able to extract business information, decision makers information that you just can't find on the web, right? And what I did at the time is I just built a database of all the businesses that were occupying the buildings, try to determine whether they owned the property, leased the property, try to identify lease expiration dates, put my database together and really try to identify, the businesses that are looking to move within the next, 6 months, a year, 2 years. So that way, when I did get a listing, right, I knew exactly who to call for that particular property.
That's right. That preparation. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Now, at what point did you start to specialize in industrial?
So it's probably when I first got into brokerage, I would call myself a generalist. I just did anything and everything that came my way. And after about 2-3 years of doing this, I would look at the income I would make at the end of the year. And then I would talk to my buddies, right? And what I found is that they're making similar type of income at their job. And the difference was they were getting a consistent paycheck. They were able to go on vacations. They had sick pay. Where if I went on vacation,
your buddies with salaries.
Yeah. I got sick. No one's paying me. So I'm like, I'm really busting my butt over here to try to get, make it in this world. And I'm going to find is I'm making equal money to someone who has a salary. And so I was just like, okay, what are some of the brokers in the industry that I see and I respect that I believe are making a lot of money? And what I found is that they specialize. And so I just kind of had a heart-to-heart myself. I sat down in our conference room and I was like, okay, do I want to go office? Do I want to go industrial? Do I want to go retail? Do I want to go self-storage, medical, multifamily? And I was like, you know what? I think for the amount of transactions I've done at that time and what I believed I really enjoyed was industrial. So I chose industrial, and that's been my specialty ever since. And so I guess that's been now about 18 years.
Yeah.
Specializing in industrial.
Well, let's slow down right there, because this is a question I get from folks on a fairly regular basis, and they're new to the business brokers, and they're asking, hey, what should I specialize in? And I've kind of got 3 questions that I generally ask them. But what I want to hear is like, what was it about? Because you just mentioned you had a track record, you had experience, your skills had been refined with your transactional experience in that industrial space. So you got it. You also mentioned you liked it.
Yeah.
Like, what was it about industrial real estate that you liked?
I think what it was, where office, it felt as if I had to be more suited and booted. And that's maybe not as much the case as it is today, but during the time, you had to be more suited and booted, which was okay. But I wanted to be a little bit more comfortable, and kind of where I'm dressed, today, just a collar shirt, buttoned up, and just some slacks. I That was kind of more my style. The people that I would meet that operated these industrial type businesses, manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, were, I guess, people that I felt like I related to a little bit more as well. And and my father, worked in a couple of industrial buildings, and I would go to work with him sometimes. So I kind of had some familiarity with the type of buildings as well. So I was like, okay, you know what, industrial's a thing. But what you said is something you enjoy, something you have fun, right? And that's what I was really just trying to figure out, is what is it that I'm going to enjoy, that I'm going to have fun with, that I'm going to work on the type of not only buildings but the businesses that I could see myself working with for a long period of time.
You know what I think would be interesting is if we ascribed a personality type to the different types, the different asset classes of commercial real estate.
Yeah.
Because he basically just described, like, it's like who I am and my upbringing and everything. I just fit.
Mm-hmm.
I was just more comfortable.
Right.
I just liked the people
Yeah.
that were industrial real estate. And there's going to be people who feel exactly the same way about retail. And they're going to be like, I just don't get the industrial user.
Right.
Like, it's just not a part of my background. I don't understand it. I grew up visiting my dad in the office, or whatever. But it'd be interesting to see, could we give Cody's our sister, by the way, could we give her enough information, and she's also a Myers-Briggs expert, to ascribe a personality type to the different types of.
Oh yeah, that'd be fascinating.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, the thing I immediately thought, was just characters from the show The Office, right? Like you could quickly do. So with industrial, what was described sounded like Jim, right? Jim Halpert.
Mm-hmm.
Office would be like Michael Scott. What else did we got? Retail.
Retail.
Yeah, that'd be like Pam Beasley. I know she didn't.
No. It would be.
Phyllis.
No, the girl in the back.
Angela.
No, not the accountant.
Kelly.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly Kapoor.
Yeah, Kelly would be
She's
retail.
retail.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
What are we missing?
Multifamily.
Multifamily. Well, that could be Dwight. Because that's the only other one, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dwight's got his hand in Dwight's got his hand in all of them.
But he ended up owning the building, right?
Yeah.
So he would have been the industrial guy.
Retail could also be Andy Bernard, the Nard dog.
Yeah.
His attorney. Anyway.
Gary, you're so engaged in this part of the conversation that I wonder if you even watched The Office ever.
I do not watch The Office.
That's what I thought.
You know what? Let's do it with Disney characters.
Okay.
Right? Let's do it. Right? So The Office, I don't know why Office would be, like, that would be Mickey Mouse, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. You're the expert on this one, Gary.
Yeah. I'm thinking that could be.
Who's Donald Duck's uncle?
Oh, yeah. That's
Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle
Scrooge
Scrooge?
McDuck.
He feels Office to me.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good one. Good one.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Minnie Mouse is retail.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Industrial would be Goofy, right? Maybe not.
Goofy, or maybe, just thinking out loud, maybe, I don't know why this comes to mind, but Chip and Dale.
Oh yeah, they're
Chipmunks,
cool.
right?
Yeah, they're a little casual. Well, one of them's casual. The other one's a little bit more buttoned up, like you and me. Right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chip and Dale.
Yeah. And I love the concept here of putting characters to each of the property types. That's fun.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. I'll make a poll. I'll make a poll. So if you're listening to this on,
Okay.
you can go to
Yeah, that's
Spotify
good.
and do the poll or find it on X.
But to close the loop on the idea of a specialty, though, the third, what do I like? What am I good at? The third one is where's the transactional velocity? Because you could be great at industrial. It could be just a part of who you are. I just fit there. I'm good at it. And if there's no deals happening, then great, you're an expert and you're broke.
Right.
So you live in a place where there's a tremendous amount of transactional velocity pretty much all the time. But, we live in a place where it can really potentially dry up. And so, yeah, like deals happening is a big deal. And sometimes you might have to pivot if the market shifts.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, we're fortunate enough we have the Long Beach and LA port that's here, two busiest ports in the United States. And there's a lot of goods that come through there, and a lot of industrials needed for those goods as well. So we're always busy. The main challenge for us when it comes to industrial is having to do with markets when things feel a little bit more uncertain, right? Like tariffs and things like that, where businesses are not necessarily able to figure out and plan for the future, so things just stall. And so when things stall, it's really bad for us commercial real estate folks because there's no transactions because no one's doing deals. And so even in a down market, people are selling or offloading some property, right? It becomes a good opportunity for us to do some transactions. But when the uncertainty hits, when things stall, then things become really challenging for us.
And that's where we're kind of in that right now, right? Is there a lot of uncertainty because of the tariffs, and things?
Well, yeah, and that's my question is if you look back over the last year, uncertain is a great one-word descriptor of it. And has that been just the great gunk up of the pipeline there in Orange County?
It's been, certainly one of them. One thing that has changed late last year and the beginning of this year, I believe that uncertainty is starting to diminish a little bit, meaning that people have a little bit more comfort level as to where they're at today and what the future is going to look like as well. I think we went through the tariff stuff, and a lot of businesses know how to handle that a little bit better. Supply chains open up a little bit more as well. We've seen interest rates drop, and so people feel a little bit more comfortable with making decisions, long-term decisions. So the velocity, the amount of transactions that are happening right now, the inquiries, there's a lot more opportunities these days. We got some properties that we just put up on the market. Now we have multiple offers on these properties. If we would have put that same property up on the market last year, say in the middle of last year,
Crickets.
not really sure how that would have went, but there's a lot more opportunities and a lot more transactions that are happening right now.
I was thinking there's Bob Knackle, right? Who's sold, I forget how many transactions he had.
He's the only one I know that has more than Gary.
Right.
Like he might be 2,800, something like that.
I asked Grok because when I was looking at, I asked Grok, and Grok actually referenced our podcast where it's like the number I'm getting right now. He actually stated on this really fantastic podcast called Commercially Speaking with Bo and Timmy Barron. But I'm thinking about this because it's just so high, and Bob Knackle is the GOAT in New York. So there's a lot of transactional velocity. And so I'm thinking, right, because Gary is in Orange County in Southern California, where with one of the biggest ports, not saying it's easier, but it allows for more transactions to happen because there are so many because of the place where you're located, right?
Yeah, I mean, the denominator is just so much bigger. So, but here's the reality of that. When the denominator of just the number of deals that are going to happen is so much bigger, the amount of competition that you have is so much greater.
Right. Yeah.
And so I got to deal with a couple different companies here in Owensboro, Kentucky. And we just need to capture a fairly significant amount of the market share, which we've been able to do. But like, not we don't have to get all of it. I mean, there's enough, but
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with a tremendous amount of competition.
Sure.
Gary has to deal with a ton because
Yeah.
there's so many deals, and those deals are big, and there's a lot of fees, there's a lot of rent payments, there's
Yeah.
and
So, go ahead.
Yeah,
Where are
so
you at?
Yeah.
competition.
How do you do it? How do you compete? What's the secret sauce? What would you tell people that are in a market and they want to capture more? They got all that competition. What are some of because I think Bob Knackel, he went out, especially during COVID where nothing was happening, and he walked the streets. Just, he's got the map room and he knows everything that's going on. I would assume there'd be similar things that you do, but what are some of the things that you think make you stand out?
Well, I think just putting myself back into my years of how did I break away from a traditional income salary, from my friends. And it took me a while. And I think our business, and I think all businesses, it's all about, it's a mental game that we always have to try to figure out how to overcome. And I felt like growing up in the industry, I don't have anyone that it was part of the industry that I was able to model, that I was able to follow, that someone had brought me in. I just kind of landed into it. And, starting off at 21 years old, I really didn't have a whole lot of mentors. I'm sitting by myself at an on-site leasing office. And I was out there just trying to knock on doors, cold call, do whatever I can, but really with very little to no direction. And so what I was trying to do, I was trying to be professional. And I was trying to demonstrate the experience and the knowledge and the know-how. And I would just go out there and just try to learn as much as I can. And it wasn't until a quote that I read that really sank into me, that really changed my perception of the business and how I'm doing business. And this quote changed my career. And what it is, it's with all things being equal, people want to do business with the people they know, like, and trust. And we know that. However, when things are not quite so equal, people still want to do business with the people they know, like, and trust. So what that told me, what it sank in on me is that, you know what? I may not have the most experience. I may not have the most gray hair. I may not have the most knowledge. I may not have went to the school that everyone else went to. I may have not had the mentors. But if people know me, like me, and trust me, right, then they're going to give me an opportunity. And so what I started to fight for is I started to fight for relationships, right? So I stopped fighting for business and I started fighting for relationships. And once I started to fight for relationships, then that's where my career just changed, because now it didn't matter as much, if I didn't have the experience or don't have all these listings and don't have, the knowledge or the background. But if people knew me, like me, and trust me, then they would give me an opportunity. And that's how I live my business today. It's just a relationship. So I went in there more relationship oriented as opposed to business oriented.
So give me an example of what that actually looks like. Because I hear you, like, we're in a relational business for sure. We're in a data-driven business for sure.
Yeah, so just going in there.
What's the difference between fighting for somebody's business and fighting for the relationship?
So when I would go and try to go into these meetings. I would go over there and just have printed material, talk about myself, my experience, what I've done, how great I am, and that's what my lead-in was. And I think the difference of my lead-in was not talking about my past experience. It was more talking about them, talking about what's important for them, listening more, repeating more of what they're saying, and talking a little bit more about what's important for them. Some people want to talk about their business, some people want to talk about their family, some people want to talk about stock market, but let them talk as much as possible, and you listen and you just engage, and then you try to find that commonality, right? When you try to find that commonality, whether it's, hey, you guys like WWE, right? You kind of build off of that, right? Or if you guys you like snowboarding, or you like drinking beer, or whatever it is, if you could find that commonality, you could build your relationship from there. And that's what I started to fight for. It started to fight for the relationship, fight for me to understand what the commonality is, so we could grow that business or grow the relationship, which would eventually grow the business as well.
So good. So you talk less and you listen more.
Yes.
Find those commonalities of, I mean, it's like dating,
Well, what he did was he changed the whole tone of his conversations with these folks, from talking about himself to focusing on them.
That's right. It's huge.
It's a huge shift. It's really easy to say, and but man, you make the whole meeting about that person's favorite subject, which
Yeah.
is them,
That's right.
and they're going to enjoy it more.
That's right. I mean, that's probably the biggest takeaway for anybody, right? It's good for no matter what you're doing to focus on the other person and care. And, that comes down to service, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and serving, like, the people who are the best in this business or any business are those that serve, and care and put their clients up there rather than chasing the business, but it seems so simple, but it's so easy to forget. And especially when you're in the midst of it, or desperate, or why isn't this working? And to go back to the basics and listen to people.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about this before, about going when we're talking about networking, right? Or going to a big function and where you're going to meet a lot of people. And if you just go in and focus on being curious about other people, then it makes that whole experience way, way better, and not as stress, anxiety inducing to be like, oh man, I gotta show people that I'm good. Right. It's like, you don't.
Talk about the networking. Part of what I've done as well, or what I did especially at that time, is I was part of a couple of networking groups, and what I would try to do is identify those other folks that are in industries where we share clients. And what I started to do is I started to host our own little networking meetings every Friday at 3:30. Thought process 3:30. A lot of clients are kind of checking out, but we weren't. We're coming together and trying to figure out how do we grow our businesses together. So what I did is I brought in like a banker, attorney, CPA, electrician, insurance guy, and all these other disciplines that have to focus on business to business sales, having to do with industrial type businesses. And we would talk about, like, how do we give referrals to each other? Now, tell me more about your business. How do I get you more referrals? Let me tell you a little bit more about my business, and this is what's a good referral for me. And so we met so often, and I had this crazy idea. It actually turned out to be pretty good. What it was is that there's a city over here, a city by the name of Santa Fe Springs. Santa Fe Springs is heavy industrial type city. And my thought was, I want to go over there and door knock every single one of these buildings. But by the time it's going to take to do that, it's a lot of time would have passed. So what I did is I got a map, and I pinned every single industrial building in the city. And I got our group together. I says, hey guys, what we're going to do is we're going to door knock Santa Fe Springs together. And so we would get out there like at 8 o'clock in the morning. I would hand everyone the map of, like, okay, Timmy, you're going to go over here. Ball, you're going to go over here. Gary, you're going to go over here. And at the end of it, get the business cards, scan them, let's share information. And if someone's looking for a building, you call me. Someone's looking for insurance, I'm going to make sure to bring you in. If you're looking for lending, I'm going to bring you in. And hopefully there was an opportunity where multiple people would be able to generate some business off of the same client. And so my years of door knocking, I talked about that. I was able to determine that it took me about 1 hour to door knock 8 doors. So now it became a numbers game. And so if I had 16 doors, I knew it'd take me approximately 2 hours, 24 doors, approximately 3 hours. So what I would do, I would draw out these areas where I would try to capture anywhere between 16 to 24 properties, and I would hand them off and say, all right, here you go. You're committing to this for 2 hours. You're committing to this for 3 hours, depending on their time. And essentially, we door knocked the entire city in a matter of 4 weeks, where we got together once a week
Wow.
for 2 hours. And so four meetings, we door knocked the entire city.
Wow.
So that was pretty effective.
That's phenomenal.
Well,
That's,
define pretty effective. Like, how much business actually came out of that?
Well, okay, and here's what I told everyone. It's all in the follow-up, because if you don't have follow-up, then this is all a waste of time. And I would tell the folks that too.
Yeah.
If you don't follow up, and just don't do this, because this is going to be a waste of time. So what I was able to do is now put everyone in my database, be able to call, and I don't know how many transactions came out of it, quite a few. I still have some clients today, fast forward like 15 some years later, that I'm still doing business in that area because of what we did at that time. But there's quite a bit of business that came out of that.
wow. When I envision door knocking, I'm envisioning going to every single house and knocking. But we're specifically talking about going and knocking on the doors of businesses. You're going to visit businesses, right? Okay, yeah. Just want to clarify that in my head, because I'm like, oh, that's
Or in this case, industrial properties.
industrial properties specifically for all the knocking.
That's right. That's right. And I'll go in there and I'll have a list of properties available for lease in the area, a list of properties for sale. I would hand it to them, just say, my name's Gary Martinez. I'm a commercial real estate broker. Not sure who to talk to about this, but I wanted to share some information about some properties that are available for sale and for lease. Who would I normally talk to about business expansion? And they'll say, oh, that's Timmy. Okay, is Timmy around? He goes, no, Timmy's not available right now. I'm like, okay, can I get Timmy's information and give him a call a little bit later? They're like, yeah, no problem, right?
Yeah.
Give me his information, and Timmy give you a call later on that day or a couple of days down the road, and I'll say, hey, Timmy, my name's Gary Martinez. I'm a local commercial real estate broker. I was in your area. I was in your office. Had a chance to talk to Sally, and she told me to give you a call. Want to talk to you about your commercial real estate requirements. We've got a few properties available for sale and for lease in the area. How's business going? Can I share some properties with you to help you with your growth?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Would you say that would that whole concept of door knocking would be just as effective today as it was 15 years ago?
Yes, in a different way. So there's not as many people out there door knocking, and
Right.
so you have, going back to competition. Competition is not necessarily doing that as much, and so it is still effective. It takes a long time, and so a question that I always ask myself, for our younger agents is, are we doing door knocking or are we doing cold calling? Because if we're doing cold calling, we could be able to cold call about 25 to 30 people within an hour, as opposed to door knock 8 people in an hour. So part of my recommendation is, you got to go out in the field, you got to touch and see and feel your market. You got to get a chance to know who's out there. And so doing some door knocking is good, so you can touch and feel, extract information, get a chance to learn your market, assuming you don't know it. But another thing it does as well, it gives you a better understanding as to the businesses that might be growing by just assessing them. So there's this thing called capacity utilization rate. And this is actually a number that is tracked on Fred. And when a business hits, it's been a while since I looked at this, but this is how I made some notes on the business cards, is that if a business has reached like about 70% the capacity of their business, it might be 80%, it's one of them. So, but once they reach that capacity, then that's telling us that that business is essentially out of room, is going to need needs to expand. And if it's under that, right, then there's no need for expansion. So what I would do, I would go inside those doors and try to determine what's their capacity utilization, right? So I'm looking at, are there trucks outside? Is there product outside? Is there like people double parked? And if I saw that, then might put like 80% capacity utilization. So told me that, hey, there's a good chance that this business is running out of space. So therefore, I need to call them and put some additional properties in front of them. Is that it? Yep.
So here's the capital utilization rate
That's right.
on the Federal Reserve, the Fred page. And we are, the most current numbers looks like, what, 76.26%?
Yeah. So by looking at this, I believe the number is 80%. So once businesses reach over 80%, and this is kind of doing a collective, right, of businesses. And so once we reach over 80%, so we are essentially going in the territory of busting out of the seams, and we got expansion going on. And so we're under 80 as a whole here, maybe 76, somewhere around there. So expansion is not something that we're seeing a whole lot of right now. That's what I gather from looking at this report.
Yeah,
So
and well, a couple things just for Timmy's benefit and the viewers. We are looking at something right now. So if you're listening, you might want to go jump over to Spotify and YouTube to check this out.
Yeah, because we're going to look at a few more things moving forward as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
But see those gray bars, Timmy?
Yeah.
Those are recessions. And what does the capital utilization rate do during those recessionary periods?
It goes down.
It goes down. And it's really clear to see that.
Yeah.
Like that's what happened. Like they use less space.
Yeah.
And man, there was something else I was going to say. And I forget. Oh, we've talked about, especially with Lonnie Hendry, when he comes on, he likes to talk about the hyper local nature.
Yes.
And so this is the United States right here.
Oh, gotcha.
We're under 80%. So overall, to Gary's point, we're not seeing a lot of expansion. But that does not mean that some town in the middle of Ohio isn't just busting at the seams.
Right.
Right. It can be very different in a specific spot, but look at the country overall, you're below that 80%. And so you would expect that there wouldn't be a tremendous amount of expansion.
Right.
But that doesn't mean in your town that's the case.
That's right. And that's what I'm seeing as a superpower of Gary. Similar to Bob Knackel is going, and for yourself, you're not going off of just data that's put out there by someone else that, you're seeing it with your own eyes. Just to your point, Gary, touching, feeling it, hugging those owners, sipping a coffee.
Well, yeah. And when it comes to canvassing, you made the comment, you can call 25, 30 owners in an hour if you're cold calling, or you could do 8. And that goes back to it's a very inefficient way to prospect. It's the most effective, but if this is a numbers game, your numbers are low, but your effectiveness will be higher.
Which is so
trade-off.
Brilliant to take your D&D group to go knocking on doors. That's awesome.
I just had a Stranger Things flashback. Okay. But email's the opposite. It's the most efficient. It's by far the least effective. Cold, on the phone, you're kind of split in the middle. It's much more efficient and it can still be effective. But what I found was when I took an appointment somewhere, if I would block off maybe 30 minutes to an hour before and or after, I've already went there for some other reason. I'm going to canvass or door knock before and after that meeting because I'm already going there. Mm-hmm. And then I would spend the rest of my time prospecting on the phone. The phone was my main thing, but because I just wanted more volume. But man, walking into a place gives you a much better perspective. You get to take in all kinds of data you're never going to get over the phone.
Yeah.
And it's way more effective. But did you ever do that? I'm going to hit the phones and then when I'm just block off some time to go do that, or was canvassing your main thing?
Yeah, so my goal, this was a year goal where I would visit my market once a year. I would call everyone twice a year. I would send 2 emails a month, and I would send 1 postcard a month. And so if I did that, then essentially I'm touching my market, 39 times a year. And that's someone's seeing information from me, assuming they see it all. Like they're going to see me 39 times in different types of ways. And so what it did is I started creating relationships with my market, with my people, and they would just see me consistently. And so when they did call me in for a meeting, they were like, "Oh, hey, Gary, good to see you. Come on in. You want some coffee?" And then they're approaching me or they're welcoming me like I know them. But the feeling is they know me, but I never met them, maybe, or maybe I did a couple years ago. But it's just it's just that consistent touch and staying visible is what I did. So that's what I did. I did a combination of all that.
We heard something similar with when we talked to Alan Buchanan.
Yeah, I wrote him down, his name down.
Because of the article or the column that he wrote in the newspaper. He'd end up having people call him that felt like they knew him because they'd been reading his column for years, and he'd never met him, but they were, like you were just saying, they'd almost greet you like a friend, because you'd reached out and touched them so many times.
That's right.
Yep.
I thought about Alan Buchanan as well because he was talking about the other industries that have the same clients and
That's right.
and creating relationships with them and getting together and he didn't take it as far as I know to create a group together to go canvas.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
That's genius. Like that. What a great idea. And for them all to be on board, it's got to be a good idea. And do it. Before we do transition to just on the thing of canvassing, Beth Azor, one thing she said, because she's known as the canvassing queen. I don't know if you know Beth, Gary, but one thing she said that I thought was very interesting. I think this is beneficial for our listeners, especially those at the beginning that they've got a canvas or cold call or whatever, is when she goes to these businesses, the first person she talks to them as if they're the ones that are the decision makers, right?
Treat them like they're the owner.
Yeah, treat
like
everybody. You go in, treat them, and they'll stop you and be like, "Well, actually, that's not me," and then just give the information right away, right? Go in and talk. Hey, I'm here. We can expand here. Blah blah. And, I just thought that's a brilliant way to not really have to ask for the information of the person to talk to, anywho.
Yeah.
I had that in my head, wanted to say it. It's valuable.
Yeah. Alan Buchanan, talking about Alan, he was actually one of the guys I used to look up to. He's actually here in my market as well. And so he's a friend, and I'm a big fan of Alan as well. So
yeah, he got us a book. So
shout out to Alan Buchanan.
If you want to write a book, Gary, we'll shelve it right here in the studio, man.
Nice.
That's right.
Because you have just created something that I think is going to be tremendously valuable. Timmy and I were having a conversation a couple weeks ago, really planning how we could take season 4 of Commercially Speaking to the next level and really create some valuable content. And one of the things was actually taking a market and applying these demand models and like doing it live, but doing it in a way that he does research on that market. I'll do research on that market. And then we'll come together in the episode and see what we've come up with and then see if we can start quantifying demand in that place. And I thought that'd be really interesting. The one I didn't want to touch, though, was industrial. Because it's more difficult to quantify demand in industrial because it's less linked to jobs and population than all the other property types.
Right.
And as we've been rewriting the 102 course, Gary's had a huge part of that. And he and Mark Seipert, who has also been on the show, have created a new demand model that we're testing out right now. And so I thought I'd have Gary show it to you.
Right here on Commercially Speaking, folks, we're
That's
unveiling brand new stuff.
Now,
it is brand new stuff.
For those of you watching and listening, here would be an opportunity for you to shape the future. Because this is very much still a draft model that's They plugged a bunch of information and input and experience and knowledge into Claude or ChatGPT, which has created this interface for us. It's almost like it's a web app for quantifying demand.
Nice.
Very cool. But if you see something, you're like, oh, they should have done this. Like, let us know. Throw it in the comments. Like we are still working on improving and nailing this down. But little peek behind the curtain here.
That's great. Yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback.
So Gary, show us what you got, man.
All right. So to your point, Bo, trying to figure out the future demand for industrial properties is pretty challenging. And even talking to some of my own clients that own tons of properties, I would ask them the question, hey, how do you really figure out the demand for industrial properties? How do you know if you need manufacturing, distribution, flex space? And I never really heard a good answer. Let me take it back. I heard good answers, but nothing where I felt the answers came off very confident, from those folks. And so what we wanted to do is really to create some type of model where utilizing industrial, we're able to determine today's demand for industrial and try to figure out what the future looks like as well, so it can help us plan for the future. So what we put together is...
Now, let me set this up just a little, if I can introduce you as you share your screen here. Timmy, just as a review, if we're trying to quantify demand in retail, do you remember what we focus on for retail?
Space.
On the demand side. Space would be on the supply side. But if we're looking at demand,
Yeah.
what are we focusing on?
The money. Yeah, transactions.
The amount of dollar bills, the amount of disposable income specifically that population has. And we can look at their trends and how they've behaved over time, and we can tell, hey, a percentage of their income goes to auto parts or groceries or whatever. We can figure that out. That data's there. So retail, man, you can really dial in demand. Office, what we generally look at is
jobs, people.
Jobs.
Yeah.
It's specifically jobs and office using jobs. And you can look at an area and you can figure out, like, on average, how much space does an employee use in this town?
Right.
And so you can dial in demand. COVID really threw a wrinkle into that, but things are coming back to the office now. So that type of model for demand is stabilizing a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
And then multifamily, what are we looking at?
Well, jobs as well, or people, growth.
Not people exactly.
Oh, no, family units.
Say households.
Households.
That's what you meant.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
So you count households, and you can see, and so you can really dial in multifamily demand as well. Like, the data's out there. What percentage of the people in this place or the households in this market rent versus own? You can really figure that stuff out. But when it comes to industrial, it's like, yeah, they have employees in there, but you can have a 1 million square foot distribution facility that has 70 people working in it.
Right, right.
It's like you can't really do the office model.
Right.
Though that's traditionally what we've done. And as these places get bigger and bigger and bigger with less and less people, that's just weaker, and that's just a weaker model to use to quantify demand.
And all the robots.
And you don't really care about disposable income much, but GDP overall has a huge impact on industrial demand, because when GDP goes up overall, then industrial demand goes up overall, but that may not help you in your specific market.
Right.
So anyway, it was just a much more difficult thing to wrap your brain around. So this is Gary's solution.
Well, what we're talking about there, we're actually talking a couple of different things. And so there's an advanced model that we're kind of thinking about as well, where the advanced model would get GDP, would get port activity, what's the distance of your market from the ports, how much rail, or how many containers are going on the rail, how much inventory are businesses carrying in their warehouse, And well, essentially what we've done in an advanced model, which is not what I'm going to show you today, but an
Mhm.
advanced model is essentially going to get all that, wrap it all together, and kind of give us an idea of where our market stands. Now, the challenge with that model is very backward looking. And so what we wanted to do, which I'm going to share today, is what would forward looking look like. And so, and that's what we're going to share with you with our industrial gap model analysis that we've put together. And again, if
Great.
anyone has any ideas on how to improve this, we're all ears. But what we put together right now, at least it's in a form that we feel pretty good about, at least at the moment. All right. So what we did is we utilized AI, Claude, ChatGPT, to kind of help put some of this together. And what I found when we're started putting this together is that the programs weren't really taking the information very correctly or very efficiently, and it was just creating these wacky models that we just didn't like. So what I had to do is take a step back and really create all this in through Excel. And once I was able to understand it through Excel, understand all the numbers, and I had to go and recreate it. And then we went back into Claude and ChatGPT and put it into the system to help create I guess essentially a website that's more user friendly. That it just starts spitting out information once you start putting in that information. So this is our industrial gap model analysis, and it has a lot of good information as far as talking about what's the demand for industrial properties today. And then we're going to break this off into three segments. We're going to break it off into manufacturing. We're going to break it off into warehouse distribution, and we're going to break it off into flex space.
Do you know
Now,
what flex space is, Timmy?
Yeah, you've got it. It has a couple different functions, right? What like distribution and maybe office or right. It's you can use it for multiple.
It's kind of poorly. Like, how would you define, Gary? You're the industrial expert. How would you define flex space?
the way I first visualized it when I first was learning the concept is flex, for flexible. Right? So you could utilize it for multiple different functions. You could use it for warehousing. You could use maybe a portion of it for distribution, portion of it for office. But like research and development could go in there. Clean rooms could go in there. So where essentially where the property is being flexible, right, to be used for multiple different purposes, not just straight like Amazon distribution space, or not just straight, heavy manufacturing. It kind of has an array of different uses in that one property. Is the
Awesome.
way I learned it. Yeah.
Exactly what I just said. Nice.
It is pretty close.
Yeah.
They generally have more office than traditional other types of industrial properties.
Sure.
They're generally a little bit more built out overall, especially if it's an R&D use. But
Yeah. Okay.
tend to be a little bit smaller than these big distribution centers. But
And there's other classes that people are going to say, well, what about cold storage? What about truck terminals? What about cross docks? Other types of specific type of industrial properties. But the way we're looking at it, cold storage is a form of warehouse distribution. Cross docks a form of warehouse distribution. And so if we're looking at the markets and we're trying to segment everything out, when we go through either this model here or in class, we'll talk a little bit more as how to classify some of those specialized property. But essentially, what we're doing is trying to make it really simple and easy, and classifying industrial into manufacturing or warehouse distribution or flex space. And that's what this model does.
okay.
Okay. So we have the industrial gap analysis model. So the first thing that we're going to do, and I don't know if you want me to go through this, but we're going to use site to do business analyst. I know you've done them here before, Bo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we want to do is go to business analyst, and we want to define our market. We want to figure out what market it is that we're going to analyze. We're going to go on there and we're going to download what's called a business summary report. Let me show you what a business summary report looks like. So when we download the business summary report, it gives us a couple of different things and some information about Orange County. How many businesses in Orange County, total employees, total population, and employment population ratio that we're not going to utilize here. But we also get the different types of industries that are that are just out there under NACE codes that I know you talked about before, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
But how many businesses are in Orange County that having to do with construction, or how many have to do with specialty trade contractors? And it just gives us all this data as far as the types of businesses, number of businesses that are here in the area, the percentile for each of the industries, along with the number of employees that are associated with these industries as well. Okay, so that's what this report does, and it gives to us. So we're going to get this report going back to our gap analysis model, and we are going to find it in our downloads.
There it
We're going
is.
to go ahead and upload it. And now what the program does, remember all those industries that we saw?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what it does, it starts to separate everything out and only focus on the industries that we already designated that are using some type of industrial property,
Okay.
such as administrative support and waste management,
Mm.
construction, manufacturing, other services, professional science and tech services, transportation, warehousing, and wholesale trade. So remember, the report told us how many employees are associated with those industries, and so those numbers are uploaded here. Now, for manufacturing, we know that if they're manufacturing, they're going to be using 100% of their manufacturing in a manufacturing type facility. So 100% of these employees are going to be associated with a manufacturing space or
Okay.
building. Okay. And we think about construction, we think about contractors. Now, they're not all in there in a warehouse doing whatever contractors do for warehousing. They're not all building stuff, and they're not all in there working with supplies. What we're doing, or what we designated here, that 40% of the construction workers are actually utilizing some type of warehouse distribution, and we already designated what type of property that they're doing and that they're using, which in this case is warehouse distribution. So what this is saying, out of the 77,000 employees that are employed towards construction, 40% of them are using warehouse distribution, which gives us a total industrial employment of 31,142.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Manufacturing 100%. So we see they're all using manufacturing type space, and we start to go all through the different sectors. And it tells us out of all the employees, we got 403,000 employees that are using some type of industrial type property. And from there is now we can start to determine, based off of these industries, you'll see them again right here, how are they growing or shrinking in our marketplace? So we could go use a scenario where, let's be conservative, where they're all just growing at a 1% pace. And we could see by the graph over here, over a 5-year period, the current number of employees is 158,000, almost 159,000. At the end of 5 years, assuming that everyone's growing at a 1% rate, then we would have a total forecasted employees of 166,000, almost 167,000 employees.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here, professional, scientific, and tech services, wholesale trade, all the way down. So we could use some base scenarios, whether it's 1%, 2%, or we want to be aggressive and do 3.5%, just to kind of get some round numbers. Now, in our markets, it's not typical and common that every industry is going to be growing at the same pace. So we've put in here is the ability to say, okay, manufacturing is, say, maybe growing at 1%. Professional science and tech services, AI or whatever, is growing at a faster pace, let's say 5%. Wholesale trade, e-commerce continues to grow, and let's just say that's growing at 3%, not a whole lot of construction, let's just say that's a negative 1%. Transportation, warehousing, again, the Amazon, the goods coming to our house, let's say that's growing at 2%. administration waste. Okay, so we just go on and just put in whatever the numbers are telling us, and what it's going to do. Our graph is going to be reformatted, to match whatever numbers we put here. And so, based off of our projections, we are projecting that we're going to have an additional 48,000 of new employees in the industrial sector at the end of our analysis period. And this analysis period is 5 years. So I'm going to stop here, Timmy.
Is it always 5 years, or is that just in this case we're talking 5 years?
Yeah. So right here we could put 12 months. We could put 120. So whatever time period we want, we just go in here, and I just have it here at 5 years.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's a section of our model that we are still playing around with, so we could ignore that for right now, economic base multiplier. So let's just put that on hold for right now, because it doesn't do a whole lot in this model, but we have some opportunities to do some cool things with it. But
Cool.
Where we're at right now, it just doesn't do a whole lot.
Okay.
So this is the demand side. This is having to do with people. And so we talked about supply. Well, how much manufacturing type companies how much manufacturing supply buildings exist here in our local market? And so I'm just going to put in some numbers here. These are specific to Orange County. Our overall manufacturing, we have 65,800 square feet of manufacturing space in our market. Our total vacancy that we have in our market is about 3.3 million. And new supply, so this is going to have to do with new construction that's coming online, or maybe we might have manufacturing buildings that are being demoed, so this might be a negative number. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to put in 50,000 square feet. And if we look at historically, what have manufacturing, what's the occupancy rate or vacancy rate been in our market? We have an opportunity to make some changes here. I'm just going to put in, I'll put in 6%.
Stabilized vacancy rate, just
Correct.
as a refresher, because I think we've talked about this before, Timmy, is the amount of vacancy your market needs to operate efficiently.
Right.
So that there is space to expand to. So a new company can come into your market. There is some vacancy. And Gary, we always talk about, your market needs a certain amount of vacancy, but none of that has to be in any of your buildings.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
The market needs it, but we don't have to participate in that
Right.
with our own properties.
Let's keep our absorption up.
Mm-hmm.
And so current manufacturing employment, right? That comes from the business summary report that we extracted. We indicated that manufacturing is growing at a 1% pace. Our analysis is 60 months, 5 years. So based off of our 60-month forecast, we're projecting that manufacturing employees is going to be 167,000 employees. If we do the math of 158,000 divided by our current supply, we're going to find that for every employee that is under a manufacturing type of job, each employee occupies about 393 square feet. Okay, and this has to do not just with people that are in the manufacturing floor, but this also has to do with people that are in the office administration as well.
Okay.
Okay, so our current occupancy rate under our market, it's 95%.
Not much vacancy.
Not much vacancy. And so now what it's doing here is now we could figure out what the gap results are. And based off of our current supply, 62,500,000, make it a little bit bigger. Oh. We know how much square feet each person is utilizing. So as employment grows, the demand for manufacturing space is going to grow. So we're going to need 65 million square feet. Our current supply is 65,800,000. And our forecasted supply, what we're going to need is 65,850 based off of the total supply in the market, including our
Oh,
vacancy.
wow. So what this is saying is 5 years from now, all the space is going to be occupied, basically.
Hmm.
There's almost no vacancy,
Right.
which is a real problem.
Yeah, we're only going to have 244,000 square feet.
And this would be helpful to developers, big time.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. So at the end of our forecast period, we're going to be at 99.6% occupied.
Woo.
And this is our forecast annual absorption. So our absorption rate, right, is 621,170 feet is being
Wow.
absorbed every single year.
Wow.
Okay. So that's under manufacturing. So we could do the same thing. Well, we would have to do the same thing under warehouse and distribution to save us time. I actually already pre-filled it all.
My man.
Okay.
Mhm.
So here are our numbers. And I just kind of threw in some general numbers previously, so these don't match, but I'm just going to throw in some general numbers here again. See if I can remember them. 0, 2, 2. All right, so we have manufacturing numbers that I inserted, pre-filled before. And I pre-filled warehouse distribution. So the same thing I did for manufacturing, I did the same thing here for warehouse distribution. And I did the same thing for flex.
Okay.
And what it's doing at the bottom of warehouse distribution and flex is telling us where we're going to be at the end of our forecast period. Under here, we're going to be 118%. So essentially, we're going to be out of space for flex, assuming that we're following that same trajectory. So that means that we are missing about 12 million square feet of industrial space.
Wow.
Does that number factor in the amount of stabilized vacancy that you need?
It does.
Okay.
Okay.
And then now we're able to tell a story with the graph here. And based off where we're currently at, remember we had a 95% vacancy based off of the jobs that are coming online, our projected number of jobs, manufacturing and everything across the board. This is our jobs. This is our demand that's going up. So now we could see somewhere around right before a 3-year period, we're going to hit equilibrium where we're essentially going to be 100% out of space. And so, I mean, based off of your market, I mean, going back to Bull's point, you need a little bit of vacancy in there in order for a market to like move. And so here we're going to start having some problems in year 2. 2 years from now, I mean, we're going to have some real problems because, I mean, vacancy is going to really, really start to shrink. So based off of this, it goes off basic supply and demand. So when demand is high, supply is low, prices go up. And so based off of this model is by next year and in year 2, unless we have some significant developments that's starting to come on board, we're going to start to see prices start to jump up probably pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a challenge here in Orange County. And here's our graph telling us specifically what our current occupancy rate is. This is combining warehouse distribution, manufacturing, and flex space as a whole. In year 1, we'll have 95.7%. Year 2, 98%. And now we start to see by year 3, we're going to have a gap, meaning that we don't have enough industrial properties here in Orange County to match the jobs that are coming online, the projected jobs that are coming online, within our market area.
Yeah, that's an absorption rate of about 7 million square feet a year.
That's crazy. Let's go check that pipeline. You know,
Yeah, you might need more than 50,000 square feet in that pipeline.
right.
Yeah, I just put that number in there. But this essentially is able to tell us a story. And so how do we utilize this as professionals is now we could go and we could take this and we could share the model with our clients, and so they could see it, visualize it, and have a better understanding as to what we're talking about. And so, talking about like how I win business, and so I use models like this to demonstrate to my clients and share with them, and I kind of bring them in behind the curtain a little bit, right, to show them what it is that we're dealing with, and maybe the challenges and maybe the opportunities that are available to them in the coming future. So
That's right. So looking at this model, we're not factoring in what's in the pipeline, right? This is just if things remained as is.
No, you can.
Yeah.
You can add that in there. Like there's a spot for that. And he just threw 50,000 square feet in there. That's in the pipeline. But
right.
you can do this over the next 12 months, and you can pull permits, and you can see what's in the pipeline.
Sure.
In 12 months from now, it might not be 50,000. It might be 5 million square feet is going to come online, and this model will factor that in.
Yeah. So if I'm somebody that has a property like this, and you show me this model, and it might, I'm trying to understand what this means to me. Because if I'm seeing this, I'm like, well, demand's going up, supply is not. I'm going to hold and sell year 3 or year 4.
Oh, well,
you know what I mean?
There's all kinds of opportunities here.
Yeah.
One is if I'm a property owner and Gary comes to me and he says, look, here's what we're looking at over the next 5 years. You're about to renegotiate a lease with a tenant, or you're working with this tenant. Here's what I expect rents to do over the next 5 years. I mean, we're going to run out of space, and demand's going to continue to go up, which means rents are going to go up.
Right.
And you want to negotiate with that knowledge, knowing that you can expect rents to go up aggressively over the next couple of years based on the data that we have here in this model. And I might take a different stance as a landlord at that point negotiating. Or if your client is a developer, you're saying, look, we need 5 years from now, we need 14 million square feet based on this model.
Right.
Want to build 1 million of that?
Yeah.
Let's go find the dirt and get this started because we're going to run out of space.
Right.
Or if you're a tenant or if your client's a tenant, you might say, look, here's what's about to happen. Rents are going to spike. If things move forward like we're projecting it based on this model, rents are going to spike. You might want to lock in your rent for a long term right now. I mean, you might want to consider a 10-year lease versus a 3-year lease.
Yeah.
If you're really comfortable with this is the space that you need.
Yeah.
So there's regardless of who you're serving, you can take this information and help them make wise decisions.
Right. Right.
Yep.
And that's exactly right. I mean, what Bo described is exactly what I do in my brokerage business as well. I really just try to understand what's not just happening today, but what's the future looking like for our client as well. Are they projecting growth, or are we representing a landlord, a seller? So one thing, knowing this that I see, I am projecting some of my clients where we may have some larger space where we have higher vacancy today than what we've had in the past, probably 10 years, 11 years. Our vacancy rate is the highest it's been since that time frame, somewhere around there. And what I'm advising my clients is that, hey, we're in a little funk right now. Market's a little bit down, but we are projecting that occupancy is going to start to increase because we know jobs are starting to come in more in our area. So what I'm advising my clients is that we may want to consider, let's do a short-term 1-year lease with this tenant, and let's wait until we get to year 1 or year 2 or a year or 2 down the road, so we could go ahead and renegotiate this lease to a more of a market rent. And to Bo's point, the worst thing that I could advise my client to do right now is to do a 10-year lease where rents are low, because if this model is true, we're just going to run out of supply. We're expecting prices to go up. We just locked our client into lower rent, and that they're not going to be very happy about in 2 to 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How often do you run into somebody that you have yet to build a relationship with? you know, because you've got the whole thing. They got to know, love, and trust you. That's who they want to do business with. But when you're getting new clients or you're talking to somebody that has not been established yet, how often is someone looking at you and being like, how do I trust that you didn't manipulate this graph to make it look this way?
I do it right in front of them, and I show them the data. And I don't really do this whole graph in front of them, and I don't really share this graph a whole lot. This is more from my internal side.
Yeah.
And what I do is I explain it. Right now, if a client really want to understand the numbers and to look at it, and they want to see the graph, then maybe that's the time where I might do it with them. But really, what the graph does and the data does, it allows me to speak confidently about our market,
Yeah.
and be able to show or demonstrate whatever it is that I'm talking about. But I think that's what clients are really looking for. I mean, not completely, but they're looking for someone that is knowledgeable, someone that's confident, someone that they could trust, and because they really don't want to understand these numbers. If they trust you, right, they're going to say, okay, hey,
Right.
Gary, whatever you say, whatever you do, I trust you. Just do whatever you want,
Yeah.
right? Now I could sleep well at night because I know the information and the guidance that I'm giving. I've ran the numbers, I looked at the data, and I know the advice that I'm giving them is really good advice because I know the numbers and I'm confident in the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious, like, how often does it happen where someone doesn't trust it? You know,
Well,
maybe not much, but
so one thing I learned in my career early on is that we could overeducate a client. And if we overeducate a client, then there's now a loss of trust because now we're speaking above, what they could comprehend and understand, and so therefore, they just didn't know what you said.
right,
So,
right.
so there's a
Maybe
disconnect.
that's where I'm coming up with this question because I'm like one of those people. Right
Well,
now.
I mean, you got to read your client,
Yeah,
and so if I have sophisticated clients and I'm picking up on, they're like, is he just making this crap up?
Yeah.
And I'll say, hey, let me show you where I got this,
Yeah.
and then, man, in just a few minutes, I can be pulling reports from Site to Do Business, or I could pull some Moody's reports, and they can see the source of the information.
Right.
This is my data set. This is how we're analyzing it and drawing these conclusions. Like, they can see it. Now, if I have somebody that's low on the sophistication scale, I might just talk them through a few things. Like, look, best data source in the world on the demand side is Site to Do Business. And that's where we pull this information. I can show it to you if you want. It might put you to sleep. I can absolutely do that. But I want you to know where I'm pulling this information is the very best. And on the supply side, we also have access to the best source of information, and it's called Moody's Analytics. And, I'm not pulling these numbers out of thin air to justify what I want to be true. I'm drawing conclusions based on the data. And, you just kind of talk them through it at a real high level.
Sure.
Just read your client.
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly right. And so I don't open up with this. It's like internal rate of return. Like, well, let me talk to you about internal rate of return or discount rates, right? It's just going to go right over clients'
Right.
heads, but we just talked to them about some basic stuff. Again, reading the client, having a better understanding what's important for them, how sophisticated they are. And some of them want to know all this information, then we'll go under the hood with them and we'll share as much information as they want to see. But I am mindful of doing in some at least some internal checkpoints is that because I don't want to share too much. If you share too much, you start to lose the client's interest, where you start to jeopardize loss of trust as well.
Yeah. I know that. I've got a friend who's really working on over explanation. You might know who I'm talking about.
I think I might know who you're talking about.
He's aware of it, but he's just so excited about all the data and everything. And anyway, and I love him very much. He's my best friend in the world. What was that? Oh, so I'm just curious, like personally, when you put in this data, right, and we just saw what we just saw, from you, does this look, is this exciting information?
Yeah.
Like this particular data that we're seeing, that's exciting because there's growth. Or does it look to you like there's more opportunity? I know any market you can find opportunity, but there are some, like when the market is good, obviously there's opportunity that's obvious, right? Obviously obvious. But yeah, so this particular information is very exciting information, it seems.
Yeah, I think what it does, it just gives us an information as to what the potential future outlook looks like in that marketplace, right? And now we started this off by talking about uncertainty. And what it does is starts to remove that uncertainty, and it brings clarity at least to our mind, the analyst's mind. And we're able to give and provide advice and guidance, to our clients in the right way, that we know that the information we're giving them is going to be in their best interest. And we know that because we've seen the data. We're not just relying off a gut feel or a belief,
That's
especially
exactly
in
right.
a market that like maybe we don't know about, and we're guessing. And that's the worst thing that we could do for a client is guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now we're able to really utilize data and bring really good guidance and advice to them.
Yeah. Again, it's that information that is the superpower, that.
Well, just think about it. If you're working with people who know, like, and trust you, and you know, like, and trust them, and you have the data they need to make great decisions, and you have the skill set to analyze it well, to underwrite a market, and to give them great advice, like, you're just so valuable.
Yeah.
And that's such a differentiator to what normal looks like
Right.
in our business, where people are trying to fight for the business instead of the relationship.
Right.
I guarantee you, Gary tells people to not do a deal sometimes because it's in their best interest, even though that means he's not generating a fee.
Right. Right.
Because people can trust him to give them the advice that's best for them. And that's what great brokerage looks like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important, very, very important. And again, that confidence level, because going back to relationships, you meet these relationships and you start to grow, and your clients start to become your friends sometimes, and you don't want your friends to be in a worse situation because of some bad advice.
Yep.
And so I do everything I can to make sure I understand the market and I'm providing the best advice I potentially can.
Thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. I've been hearing your phone ding, and I'm sure there's a bunch of calls you have to return now, but thanks for giving us a couple hours.
And Gary, before we go, is there anywhere that our listeners can contact you, or that you want them to know to follow you somewhere? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Timmy.
Sure.
Yeah, Gary Martinez, my phone number. This rings my cell as well. It's 714-905-9383. And I'll say it again. It's 714-905-9383. And my email is gary@ashwillassociates.com. Best way to connect on social media platform is LinkedIn. That's what I'm on pretty much every day. I'm not on the other ones too much, but LinkedIn is going to be the best one for us to connect.
All right.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Gary, thank you so much. I look forward to round number 2.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Timmy. Thank you both. It's great seeing you guys. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
man.
for having me on here.
Absolutely.
Tell the family we said hi.
Yeah.
Sure will. Yeah, they're excited about me coming on here today. So yeah, they're looking
Awesome.
Boy.
That was good.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little Mickey right there. That was good.
Bye, everybody. It's a Donald Duck.
nice, Timmy.
That was for you, Gary.
Oh, boy. This is getting special. All right. That was Gary Martinez, a broker's broker, a strategist, and someone who's seen the market from every angle and somehow still has hope in his eyes.
Well, that's what Disney can do for you. 2,500 deals and still believes in humanity. That's either Disney or Stockholm Syndrome.
If you're a broker, an investor, or just trying to make sense of the CRE landscape, rewind this one. There's a decade worth of knowledge packed in here.
And while you're rewinding, do the things. Subscribe to the show. Watch the full episode on Spotify and YouTube, especially if you want to see that graph. What a great graph. Tell your office, tell your dad, tell your dentist.
And if you're ready to grow your business and your sanity, get yourself an executive assistant through superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. It changed my life. It might save yours.
And for those in the back, that's superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. That's a callback. You got to watch the last episode. Also, subscribe to our newsletter at subscribe.wgbaron.com. It's free, it's useful, and I write parts of it under the influence of espresso and mild rage, which is not true. I don't write any of it.
But look, we appreciate you and that you give us your time, that you're here.
Yes. And Barbara Corcoran, I'm still waiting for you. We'll see y'all next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. Bye, Alice.
Bye, Alice. Bye, Bridget.
Bye, Bridget. Yay.